بینندگان عزیز، در این قسمت از برنامه مهمان عزیزی داریم، آقای پیتر رادنیکاف که کارشناس در امور ارز دیجیتال هستند یا همون دیجیتال کارنسی، که در این رابطه سوالاتی رو ازشون خواهیم پرسید. پیتر, welcome to our program.
Thank you.
Peter, briefly tell us what is digital currency.
So growing up, most people are used to currencies being affiliated to a place. So Canadians have the Canadian dollar, Americans have the American dollar. And there's other forms of interacting, whether it be stocks, bonds. There could also be various ways. But now there's never been a currency for the internet. So Bitcoin is the first thing that came around that's digital and rare. And because it solved that technological problem, it was able to be a way of interacting online with a currency.
That's great. So why should people get interested in digital currency?
Well, we have two ways the world can go, the way I look at it. We can go more digital or less digital. So if you think we're going less digital and back to hunting, gathering, and farming as the average person, then it doesn't matter. But most likely we're going more and more digital, and we're getting more digital watches, digital parts of our body. And this is going to be a very important way of expressing yourself digitally. So not just interacting, just communication, which we've had through the internet. Now we're going to be able to build businesses, support different movements with fractions of pennies, dollars in some cases, or big amounts as well. But we're used to the big amounts. Now we're going to be able to interact digitally on a micro scale, and we have no clue where that's going to lead us. Many possibilities.
Wow, that's great. That's great. How could digital currency impact people and countries?
So just like we had for the people that are a little bit older, just like we had house phones before that were run through landlines, and then most of the third world, that infrastructure was never established. So it went from having no phones from a lot of places in the world to cell phones.
Okay.
So same thing right now, there's only about 2 billion people of the 7 that have access to modern banking, that could send email transfers, send wires around the world, and interact the way we do. But there's 5 billion people that don't have access to that. And you don't even need to have a cell phone. There could be a village that shares a cell phone amongst a whole tribe of people. They have timeshare, 4 hours access, and now they could have their own digital bank account, and they can interact with the whole world, whether they be for work, for pleasure, for business, all the above. This is going to skip just like the house phone skipped and it went right to cell phones. Most places in the world are not going to have modern infrastructure of banks. They're going to have this digital way to interact with anyone on the planet.
How we can learn that? Do we have to go online or any teacher? I mean, how we can learn it?
So there's lots of documentaries out there, right? There's lots of podcasts. There's even several good books out now, right? So depending your platform of learning, I would say start off putting in research, whether that's 2 hours, 20 hours, whatever you could handle without getting overwhelmed. And once you do that amount of research, reach out to someone like myself, go to an event, and find some human to guide you through. So do the first base of research so you understand the terminology, the basic concepts, and then going forward, find someone to mentor you, to guide you through the little intricacies. And once you figure it out, it's like sending an email. It's not complicated. It's just if you've never done it, it's easier to have guidance.
That's great. Great. So what do you predict will be the digital currency in the future?
So we're going to a world of more and more currencies, right? The negative outlook was that we're going to have a one world currency, but by the looks of it, it's going to be the complete opposite. So we're going to have ways to interact, not just the Canadian, the American dollar, the Chinese dollar has already gone digital. Other countries are not far behind. So, but instead of just getting paid and interacting in one currency, like now, if you're in Mexico, it's the peso. If you're in Europe, it's the euro. You're going to have the choice of being paid in maybe Bitcoin, maybe in gold, backed on a digital platform. You're going to have ways to choose what currency you're going to use. It's not just going to be limited to the one place you're in. So if you interact online, which almost everybody does, you're going to have now options, and you could now almost flawlessly enter any place in the world and trade one of your currencies into another without having to go to a currency exchange or something of that nature. And people that don't have access to things like there's places in the world it's still very difficult to get real estate. The infrastructure, like we talked about, skipping the house phone, is not in place. There's no proper way to get deeds, and there's no proper way to interact. So people buying assets was very difficult. And a lot of currencies that are not in the top G7, G20 countries does hyperinflate. Like now we're starting to see a lot more inflation in even the mainstream countries, but for the last 10, 20, 30 years, there's certain countries that every 6 years, 10 years, their currency hyperinflates and there's nothing they can do. The only choice they had was to save in that local currency. Now there's going to be different digital assets. And whether it's Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, if it's not that, this technology will bring you options, whether it be gold, silver, whether it be investing in companies. The average person is now going to be able, for a fraction of a penny, dollars, very small amounts, anywhere in the world, hold their savings in assets instead of having to hold it in the local currency. So that's going to open so many possibilities for the people that need it the most, because now, instead of having to buy a whole real estate, which is not even possible in some places, they can work for a little bit of income. And now instead of storing it in a local currency that most likely will hyperinflate, which they'll get less and less value over time, they can hold it in an asset, so it'll be more valuable.
That's great. That's great. Any page or how people they can contact with you if they need any help or have any question?
So my full name is Peter Ratnikov, RATNIKOV.com. There you can find my links. I'm on every social media. My phone number is on the site as well. You could email me, whatever you're comfortable with. Just contact me. I love to talk to people that are interested in making change in the world.
Peter Ratnikov. دوباره اسمشون رو تکرار کردم. Thank you so much, Peter, for having with us. با هم ادامه برنامه رو میبینیم.
Hi, this is Anna Khan coming to you with more financial tips or financial education.